The river may be subsiding, but many parts of the city of York are still flooded, the extent of the water visible from the air. And today the engineers struggling to repair the city's failed flood defences had to call on the RAF to deliver the cables, the generators and the motors to get the pumps working once more.
The river waters behind me are several metres above where they would normally be, and the pumping station is completely surrounded by the waters of the River Foss and the River Ouse. It's only accessible by air, and the only way to bring in the heavy equipment that's needed is with a Chinook helicopter.
It's not just the Environment Agency relying on the armed forces to bail them out. 500 soldiers are now deployed in the north of England. Today David Cameron visited them at their work in York, preparing sandbags. He also visited some of the flooded streets of the city, but not everyone was pleased to see him. He's had to defend his government's spending on flood defences and deny growing accusations that when there's money to be spent, it's the north that loses out.
Here in Yorkshire, for instance, we've spent £100 million on flood defences since I became Prime Minister. We're planning to spend another £280 million, so almost 3 times as much. But, you know, that's of no comfort, obviously, to the people who've been flooded here in York.
Hundreds of families have had to leave their homes over the last 2 days. It's still not certain when they'll be able to return. And with more heavy rain forecast for Wednesday, no one wants to say that the risk of more flooding is past. For those whose property has been damaged by the rising water, little consolation that river levels have finally started to fall.
I think they're frustrated because they don't know any real information why it had to happen. As you can see, it affected all the houses up the road, and you know we were coping okay. That the river wasn't really flooded, but when they lifted the flood barrier, everything came in.
The people of York continue to endure the cold, the wet, the indignity of these floods. But those who care about the city say things must change.
The city of York is a wonderful, great city. And what we're seeing is a testing of our will. And I want to say, having lived in Yorkshire for 10 years, they're resilient people. But we shouldn't take them for granted. Work hard to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Everyone wants to believe that this will never happen again. But that is a promise that nobody is prepared to make. Damon Green, ITV News, in York.